Cry havoc and let loose the dogs of war. Throughout history, war has often come with lightning swiftness. But perhaps no attack was more devastating and had more dire consequences for the fate of humanity than the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Could it have all been prevented? Was there a man that could have stopped the madness? We'll explore that question tonight as we ask whether Santa Claus could have prevented World War II. There are three questions to be answered. First, was Santa capable of stopping the Japanese attack and preventing the United States' entry into the war? The second question is, should he have? The United States entry probably sealed the fate of Adolf Hitler and Emperor Hirohito. The third question, if he should have, why didn't he? In the next few minutes, we'll ask people who have the answers to those questions and find out whether the course of history could have been changed. December 7th, 1941. A day that will live in infamy. A little before 8 in the morning, the Japanese launched a massive attack against the United States Pacific Fleet stationed at Pearl Harbor. The devastation was complete as wave after wave of Japanese bombers attacked the unprepared American Navy. Thousands died without firing a shot, and only one ship actually got underway. The United States was now a participant in World War II. Like it or not. Historians have argued over many aspects of Pearl Harbor, but they agree on one thing. Santa Claus would have made a difference. If only Santa had warned them, fought by their side. But Christmas did not come early in 1941. Our search begins here, at the Institute for Advanced Santological Studies in New York. We'll be interviewing Professor Michael Smith-Klein-Wickershambury, an expert on the capabilities of Santa Claus and his sleigh. Professor, did Santa have the kind of firepower it would take to defeat the Japanese at Pearl Harbor?
Absolutely. Santa, you must remember, has an extensive R&D program, with hundreds of elves dedicated to new weaponry alone. We're quite sure that in 1941, St. Nick had access to advanced early warning radar, air-to-air missiles, and supersonic sleigh technology.
So then Santa could have prevented the attack.
Yes. In my opinion, he would have used current weaponry combined with advanced guidance and targeting systems to avoid giving away any secrets too early in the war. Of course, several key military research personnel were scheduled to receive some of those new war toys in the next few years. You wouldn't want to spoil Christmas for them.
Can you guess what Santa's tactics would have been? To defeat the Japanese.
Yes. I believe Santa would have deployed 3 or 4 elves in backup sleighs to drive the first wave of bombers away from their targets. Santa would take on the Japanese torpedo birds and take them out in a flanking maneuver, while Rudolph and Blitzen carried a warning to the U.S. commanders of the fleet at Pearl Harbor.
Thank you very much, Professor. You've been very helpful.
Well, you're very welcome.
Yuki Watanabe of the Imperial Navy, now retired.
The beginning of my life was
My career has been a long one, but I've never faced anyone quite as daunting as Santa Claus would have been had he been present at Pearl Harbor. I'm sure we would have turned back the attack if this had occurred.
So Santa Claus made quite a formidable opponent. But should he have chosen to exercise those capabilities? We asked that question of Professor Ernst Hoffenmeier at New York University's Department of Philosophy. Mr. Hoffenmeier is expert on the morality of war. Thank you for speaking with us today, Professor.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. The question that you ask is a very interesting one which we have pondered for centuries. In the context of Pearl Harbor, it is a question that I personally have investigated for many years. Should Santa Claus have intervened? We know very well that he had very advanced capabilities and probably could have defeated the Japanese all by himself. But should he have? This is the question that you ask. And the answer that I must give is yes. He should have. Because I think that many people died at Pearl Harbor, and he probably could have saved a few lives, don't you think? Yeah, well, well, I know that really wasn't the question, I suppose. I suppose the question was, would it have been morally proper for him to do so, seeing as how he may very well have changed the course of history? Well, I think what the Japanese did was a dirty trick. You know, coming in like that without really warning anybody. Isn't it? Oh, sorry, let's take the camera. Oh, God, forgive me if I am moving around so much. Sorry. So, my answer is that it would have been proper for Santa Claus to interfere in Pearl Harbor, preventing the attack, because I do not think there would be any moral ramifications of such an action.
But Professor, if Santa had prevented the attack on Pearl Harbor, might the United States have remained out of the war and perhaps allowed Germany and Japan to rule the world?
Rules the world? Adolf Hitler rules the world. The man couldn't even cook dinner for himself. I knew him, believe me. This was not a man. Well, Hitler now. He might have been able to rule the world. But I do not think this would have been a problem. You see, the United States would have entered the war anyway, in my opinion. I mean, you send several hundred or thousands of fighter bombers against them and trying to sink all the ships, and I think that I would have entered the war if I was Roosevelt. I do not think the fact that they did not sink the battleships would have prevented him from entering the war. I think he would have been pretty miffed at the Japanese after that, and probably would have been able to do a more effective job with all those extra battleships.
General Schwarzkopf, there's been much speculation about the role Santa Claus might have played at Pearl Harbor. Do you think that he might have come in on the United States side to make up for that past, and do you think the Iraqis were worried about it?
Mind at all if they'd gotten a little bit nervous about it. I really, I mean that very sincerely. I would have been delighted if they'd gotten very, very nervous about it. Frankly.
Professor Hoffmeyer and others have concluded that Santa Claus could have entered the war without posing a moral dilemma. But perhaps the most pressing question, the one that is most difficult to answer, is why didn't he intervene? For that, there can be only one man to provide the answer, Santa Claus himself. So we packed up our bags and put on our warm coats and headed for the North Pole.
Hey! Get the hell out of here! What the hell do you think this is? What are you, some kind of pervert? Wait a minute, I'll be out in a minute. Jesus Christ! Hell. Pearl Harbor? Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Pearl Harbor. Japs bombed it.
The Japanese.
Japs bombed it, right?
Right, the Japanese.
Pearl Harbor, right.
Santa Claus, we know that you were capable of stopping the Japanese and that you knew of the attack. The question remains, where were you?
Where was I? I don't know. Jesus. Look. Alright. I got it here somewhere.
I mean, you must have been aware of the
Got
attack.
damn things I'm left on them. Got one for every year.
Yeah.
Even transferred the old stuff onto his. It's nasty. It's terrible. Alright. What day did you say it was?
December 7th.
December 7th.
Right.
December 7th.
December 7th,
Hey,
1941.
There we go. December 7th, 1941. I had a dentist appointment.
A dentist appointment?
Yeah, a dentist appointment. And there was some labor unrest among the elves.
You had a dentist appointment.
Dentist and labor. I got it all in here. Hey,
Well, Santa, I mean, don't you think you might have intervened? Rather
intervened.
than... Yeah.
What, can I make toys? I give them to the children. The kids love me, okay? Once a year, I get cleaned up. I do my shtick. Leave me alone, okay? What do you want from me?
Well, we're just
God.
trying to get some answers.
You know, there was a time. When I would have kicked your butt for coming into the bathroom like that. But I'm getting old. I got out there.
Well,
Now get the hell out of here. I gotta make dinner before I sleep.
thank you, Santa.
So we have some of the answers to our questions. We know that he was capable of performing the task at hand. We know that he probably should have intervened. Sadly, the answer to our final question, why didn't he, was less than satisfying. But perhaps it was all for the best. Perhaps mankind learned something from its experience in World War II, something that it does not choose to repeat. We can only hope that the events of the early 40s have made the human race at least a little wiser. In this next segment, we will see a gripping portrayal, a gripping simulation of the way Pearl Harbor might have looked had Santa Claus intervened. This film by NYU film student Sasha Rabinowitz has been produced entirely with funds granted by the National Endowment for the Arts. I hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope you've enjoyed our production. Thank you.
Flying in from the west, a Japanese plane let loose a torpedo that sped underneath the mine layer of rock.
Well, you're very welcome, and I'm happy to anytime to talk about this topic. It is one of my personal favorites. Merry Christmas!